So today we will be discussing hypnotherapy, but within that discussion, just a warning, we will be discussing sexual assault, suicide, anxiety, and depression. So if those are in fact triggering topics to you, please take care of yourself, skip this episode, and we'll see you next time. Hello, welcome to IMHO.
In my homosexual opinion.
I'm Darby.
And I'm Alexis P. Bevels. The P today stands for psychics.
What?
We don't have one of those here, but we do have a very special guest. Please welcome Evan Gambardella.
You said it right. You use the hands too and
yes,
everything.
You have to use the hands. Evan, how are you?
I'm great. I'm wonderful
Evan,
now.
what are you doing here?
Yeah, how did you get in?
Well, you let me in through the front door.
Oh,
Yes.
shit, you must have hypnotized me.
You're here.
You wouldn't remember that though.
You're here because you're a world famous, world renowned hypnotherapist.
Thank you. Yeah.
Is that
that
right?
the title?
Is that the title?
Technically, the title is a consulting hypnotist. So that
You're a
means
consultant.
a consultant and a certified instructor of hypnosis as well. So I could actually make you both hypnotists if you ever.
Don't give her that power.
Want it to be.
She can barely handle the power she
You
has
don't
now.
give me that power. But
I think you're already a
I
hypnotist.
would love it.
Oh, God.
Okay, so I was talking on an episode recently about how in church camp every year I was forced to go. The final show was they would bring a bunch of kids up in church camp.
And they would crucify
Christian,
them.
and they would do hypnotize.
Oh.
And they would be
A little bit different.
and they would be hypnotized to do all this crazy stuff. And in retrospect, it's like that's a church camp where we weren't allowed to play like music, but we could be hypnotized. And then I also said like I don't think it
'Cause
will
it's
work on
witchcraft.
me. And then friend of the show,
Zach.
reached out and said, I know a hypnotist.
Zach.
You're that hypnotist. Consulting hypnotist.
How do you know Zach? Have you consulted him?
We've
Yeah.
consulted with each other. Yes.
Are you just
Okay.
friends?
Yes.
Have
we're
you
just friends.
hypnotized him?
I have not hypnotized him. No.
Do your friends ask you often, hey, can you help me with this?
Yeah, and are you mad at them when they do?
No, of course I'm not mad at them. I like to keep my client hypnotist relationships professional as much as possible. And if it's for a friend or family member, sometimes they can get a little bit complicated. It's the same thing as if you were asking a friend or a family member to be your therapist. You know? And there's
Yeah.
just
Well,
there's
that's
a
what
line
To do that.
It's a line.
See, I'm in therapy, and so she uses
And I don't
me
have insurance,
so,
so
that she
I
can
just
use my
I
therapist.
call it trickle down therapeutic. And sometimes I can glean some really good stuff.
Listen, if it works for the economy, it can work for your mental health. And we
Yeah.
all have it.
Typically, I do stage shows.
You
That's my
travel
main
around the
thing.
world to like colleges and prisons doing stage shows.
Not just colleges and prisons.
Mostly colleges and universities. I've been to a couple of prisons.
Yeah.
That's so fun.
The prison industrial complex is something that I do think we need to hypnotize the lawmakers to reform.
Have you ever used your powers for evil?
Have you used my powers? I guess it depends on who you ask.
Oh, okay.
She was chatting with a guy on a dating app the other day, and he asked if she was a Republican or Democrat, and then he responded he was a Republican, and I told her, block him immediately, he's gonna murder you. Do you agree with that? I'm kidding. No, of course he would have. Can I tell you something? Okay.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
What?
I interrupted you for once. That was weird.
We need to hypnotize that out of her. She's always
Interrupting?
interrupting me, and I never do.
And it's kind
If
of
anything,
heartbreaking.
hypnotize
And then
me
we'll
to
talk
be
at the same
more
time, and
talk
people actually like
overy,
it, but it's
because
only
I
because
never
I
talk
can't
over
talk.
her. Well, anyway,
I can't get a word
let me
in
tell you
unless
this
we do it at
story.
the same
It is
time.
so incredible. So today, I'm putting my makeup on. I'm getting ready for this, right? And I know a hypnotist is coming to my house, and so I
Hypnotist
put
consultant.
Consulting hypnotist.
Consulting hypnotist. That's what I.
a hypnosalt. A hypnosalt was coming over.
No.
Oh, it sounds like assault. You're absolutely right. I have to leave. No, so I'm doing my makeup, and I like to watch Bailey Sarian while I do my makeup. And shut up!
Do you know what that is?
Bailey Siri?
Yeah.
No.
Bailey Sarian, she does
Sarian.
makeup while she talks about murder. I know. I've seen the conversation.
True crime is on the way out, but
But right now, we're still enjoying the fumes of it. Anyway, so she's telling the story of this man who was sexually excited by, I promise hypnotism's part of it, who's sexually excited by disasters. He wants to cause a disaster, a huge disaster that'll kill people. So he's gonna cause a train to crash. So he does. And it derails and a bunch of people die. Well, while watching it, he jizzes his pants because he's so turned on by the fact that he caused his train to crash. He takes his underwear off though because like, we all know, it's so uncomfortable to walk around with jizz in your pants. So he takes his pants off, or his underwear off, throws it down on the ground next to the train crash, right? And then runs up to the police and is like, I was on the train and I survived. And he was like too excited, too happy. And they also found his underwear full of cum. So anyway, they catch him, whatever. He says, by the way, it wasn't me. It was Leo. Turns out he went to a carnival as a child, got hypnotized. And when he came out of it, Leo lived in his brain and said, you need to kill people so we can jizz.
How do you feel about that story?
Will that happen today?
I'm a little overwhelmed by that story.
Have you ever hypnotized someone so they don't jizz on a train?
I have not. I have not done that specifically. I hypnotize people to perform better in the bedroom.
Really?
One of the main.
Hang on a second. Curtis, get down here.
No.
I'm just kidding. No, he's fine. We do fine.
I mean, think about how
We're
many
happy.
times a day you see
We're
commercials
happy.
for the erectile dysfunction.
Oh, yeah.
It's very common.
Not in this house.
I'm sure you don't have an issue with that. But a lot of people do. But most of the time, it is not something that has to do with anything physical going on. It's all mental. It's anxiety.
Yeah.
And it's the same mechanism of how hypnosis works is how you get turned on or off, which is that if you're imagining something, whether that's, oh my God, what's in
Train
front of me is
crash.
really, really sexy, or I'm not performing the way I should be, whatever thought that is going to impact you physically. If you're thinking, I'm not getting hard, well, that's not a really sexy thought. So it's not going to turn you on.
Okay, before I moved here, but my last 2 years living in Chicago, which is about a year ago, I was in sex therapy for that reason. And I could get hard. But I wasn't that interested. I'd lost my sex drive. And you're right, it was all mental. Like, I had to do mental exercises. I'm fine now.
I think it's the American Academy of Pediatrics.
Uh-oh.
Or it is the American Journal of Medicine, I think, said that about 70% of doctor's visits are stress-related. It's that high, which means that people are literally, most of the time, thinking themselves unwell. That goes, across the spectrum of things, not just erectile dysfunction or sex performance, but everything.
How did you get into this? Or did you go to medical school or anything?
I went to acting school.
Oh.
I married an actor. Let me ask you, where do you get off? Going to acting school? What is that?
Wait, how do I get off?
Where?
At acting school?
Well, no,
We all
obviously,
know.
we all know.
Backstage.
Zip, zap, come. We know.
Yeah. No. How did you
sorry.
get into this?
It's a bit of a long story. I can
time.
speed it up, yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever you want, yeah.
I started out my career as a magician and a balloon artist. I was doing a lot of kids' birthday parties. The magic world runs very adjacent to the hypnosis world. A lot of magicians, they get tired of carrying around all that stuff with them to do the shows.
Including their assistant.
If they have an assistant.
Yeah.
I didn't have an assistant, but it was just a lot of props. So eventually I was like, well, this would be a good way to up my, what I can offer.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't really working a lot and I was going through a really difficult time. I was having a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression. And because I wasn't busy working, I was getting busy working on myself. Went to therapy for the first time. And I decided to spend all my money to become a hypnotist's apprentice. So I trained under this man named Dan LaRosa, who's phenomenal. He's one
Hi,
of the
Danny.
best teachers out there.
out.
And I would go over to his house for a few days a week, and he'd sit in front of his library with me and just teach me everything that he knew. What I didn't know I was signing up for was learning about how my mind worked for the first time.
Oh, cool.
And as you know in therapy and trickle-down therapy,
Yeah.
Right.
we're constantly having to seek out mental health fitness training and programming. No one's teaching that to us in a standardized way. So it was really my first time learning the mechanisms of how my mind worked, what anxiety was, what depression was. I didn't know. I think most people don't actually know what those things are. As I continued to talk to people about it, I'm like, oh wow, I thought I was alone in this, but actually most people don't know what this is.
Right.
And the mechanisms that give you anxiety and depression were the same mechanisms that can undo them in many cases. Not in all cases, but in many cases. So because of the work I did with Dan LaRosa and understanding how my mind worked, I was able to identify what was giving me anxiety and depression, which was this sexual assault that happened when I was much younger. When I identified that, I produced a Me Too statement. This is back in 2018. I was just exercising it for myself and healing myself, and it felt so much better. But then what I didn't realize was, oh my gosh, now I've opened up a can of worms. All these other boys started coming out and talking about this man who assaulted them as well in the same exact way. I had to go into court, and I was in court in total for 9 years.
Oh my God.
And the reason why I care so much about hypnosis, because it not only got me to understand how my mind worked and to help me undo a lot of the anxiety and depression and PTSD that I was and the symptoms of PTSD that I was experiencing because of this event. But it also allowed me to go in and out of that courtroom to testify, to share my victim impact statement, and to get the job done, because that's why most victims don't come forward. The justice system is not fair to victims.
Yeah.
It's not. I was going back and forth to court, to Boston, to share this victim impact statement. And I was in Indiana, rural bumblefuck Indiana. Not the most liberal of places. And I had just been called a faggot as I walked to my car. I was...
Sorry about that. I
Yeah,
thought you were
that
somebody
was
else.
her-
I really did. You look so much like that other faggot I know in Indiana. I'm not proud of it. I'm not proud of it.
Yeah. So you've taken your trauma and you're using it. I mean, drag queens couldn't, I don't think we could relate even any more to that.
I could. Actually, let me hold your hand.
Oh, sure.
Physical support is important. This is vulnerable. So my relationship with my dad finally broke down when I told him about my sexual assault as a child, and he blamed me. And then it was through sex therapy, talking through, I had no idea that my relationship with sex was so damaged, but the anxiety around sexual desire was really something I had to go back and tackle, that really dark thing that I was afraid to touch because it had already destroyed my relationship with my dad, you know?
It's so common.
It's wild. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for sharing your truth. We don't talk about it. And so like the experience feels so unique to me, but it's not. It's really not.
In a wonderful, wonderful as in there's solidarity, not wonderful that it happens.
Well, you're not alone.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing.
Of course.
Sorry, Alexis, your trauma.
I don't speak eloquently about these things like you two beautiful souls just did. All of my trauma is like my own inner stuff. Like nothing happened to me. It was just like I was afraid my whole life.
Yet.
Well, my response to that is what Gabor Mate says, which is that trauma is not the experience itself. It is the internal experience felt from the extraordinary external circumstance.
Okay.
So
I'm
whatever
gonna need 3 days to think about that.
Yeah, I need you to write that down for me.
I'm happy to. I can text it to you.
Yeah.
So that internal experience is the trauma, and that's why you can't compare pain. Well, you can, but it's a means to no end.
So before we get into hypnotizing,
because we're gonna try it today, right?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, I'm very scared about that. Can we just get to know you?
Sure.
Yeah.
What's your deal?
How old are you?
I'm
You
timeless.
don't have to add.
Oh!
That was a good answer.
Thanks.
My birthday's in 2 days. I guarantee I'm older than you.
You're from Italy?
No, I guess my DNA is from Italy.
Yeah,
I'm
I just
from
want you to
Connecticut.
know.
Connecticut.
This Connecticut Italian told us that we can do this and it's not offensive.
He told, yeah.
And as we know, Italians are a
Someone's going to
monolith.
cancel me for that.
No, you actually just moved, because we moved here a little over a year ago. You just moved here as well.
in February.
To Los Angeles.
Really? You're newer than us.
From where?
From New York, from Brooklyn.
Oh, that's right.
We have so much to teach you since we've been here so
Please.
much longer than you.
Yeah.
So the Hollywood sign, it's just on the hill. And like you can't go right up to it, but you can climb close.
And they
You're
are
pretty close to
mountains.
it.
They
Yeah.
are mountains, but you're not supposed to call them
You
that.
call
They
them
are called hills.
Have you heard of the Hollywood Walk of Fame?
Once or twice.
It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Are you on it? Do you have a star?
Listen,
She has been on it many times,
I
just
sat
like
down
after
on
clubs.
it.
Just
I walked on it.
I have found her there many, just sort of laying there.
Listen, I get overwhelmed sometimes and I just have to lay down.
On the Hollywood Walk of Fame?
Yeah, because I'm overwhelmed by all of the star power. I've got so much star power on my back, you have no idea.
Yeah. And then lastly, the valley is 100 degrees hotter than everywhere else in the world.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Thank you so much for coming all the way to it, and I'm sorry.
Oh, shut up. He lives in Glendale.
Aren't I also in the valley?
I don't understand.
I don't know how it works.
I don't
I don't know
understand what valley means when they say the valley, because
Down.
right, but it looks like the hills go up and then
Right,
just
we're
in
down.
between the hills.
We're down.
But the rest of it's not higher than us, is it?
Yes.
Wouldn't that make it hotter for them?
No, because... Oh, heat rises. Alexis, when you start to make sense, hypnotize me quick.
Okay. Have you ever seen Speed?
I will be honest with you. I'm very nervous.
So when
I don't wanna do
when
it.
this
That's normal,
idea
that's okay.
came out, she was like, "Absolutely not! I'm scared." And I was
Yeah.
like, "I don't think it'll work, but I want to try."
Well, what do you
So
think hypnosis is?
Ooh.
Here's what it was at church camp. There was moments where everyone, he's like, okay, look out in the audience, everyone's naked, and everyone laughs. And then he's like, okay, now you're naked, and everyone scatters off the stage, except for the one guy who's like, yeah. And then also, there was this tiny little girl. She was older than me, but she was tiny, and she was an Olsen twin. half of one, so a fourth of the twins. And
She sounds gorgeous.
and he put her head on a chair and her feet on a chair, and he stood on her and said she was like, so what is that? Magic, I assume, witchcraft?
Are they hired?
Who's hired?
The
volunteers?
The volunteers.
No, the volunteers are never hired. No.
So what is it?
So that was real?
So it's people, the way you said, it's people doing what they want to do. Like they only do stuff if they really deep down are okay with doing it.
Right. You can never violate somebody's moral compass with hypnosis.
What if they don't have a moral compass?
Well, then that's where it gets a little bit difficult. Let's
get into it.
some problems.
Can I ask you this? So you're kind of giving people the tools that they can then draw from later afterwards.
Always. Yeah, people have to be able to do this themselves, otherwise they're going to rely on me, and that's kind of how I believe that any kind of, I should probably shut my mouth before but I believe that's how all religious institutions should be, kind of like doctor's visits. You don't go to the doctor just because you want to go to the doctor. You go to the doctor when you're sick or when something's wrong. Yes, there's checkups every year, yeah, but that's once a year.
You have to do stuff yourself to
Exactly.
keep it going.
Yes, you have to.
Let's get into religion talk. So you hate people who are religious? That's interesting.
Were
I
you
wanna dive
religious?
into
Were
that.
you get religious?
I was
growing
raised
up?
Roman Catholic.
Oh, mamma mia. Listen, the Catholic Church, they're doing it wrong. I am very open to being hypnotized after she told me that you can't betray yourself. Alexis, you're very open to it.
I'm very open, but it's like ghosts. Like I want to experience it, but I just don't think inwardly.
Do you watch that show? Ghosts on CBS? It's not good.
No.
I think the British one is better.
Well, of course.
Brandon Scott Jones is great.
I want to believe it's true. I'm scared I won't. I'm scared I'm too closed off.
Well, here's the reality of the situation. Hypnosis is a process of accessing trance state. Hypnosis is
She already
just
did
a
that
process.
a year ago.
So trance state is something we're in every single day, in and out of multiple times a day. We're just not aware of it. So really what hypnosis is about is educating everybody, not just you two, educating everybody on what happens to us on a day-to-day basis throughout the day so that you can become aware of the suggestions that are entering your mind and be able to have some sort of control over them.
That's what I want.
Hypnosis isn't about getting out of control. It's about getting in control of the faculties of your subconscious, not the other way around.
They should call it hypnosis.
I love that.
Why don't we share with him what
What do we
goals
do?
are
Because
today?
do we share with you what our goals are for?
Absolutely, sure.
My number one I really want to get in control of, because again, I don't have insurance, is I grind my teeth so hard all night, every night, and sometimes during the day I have to like check myself.
It's a horrifying sound.
She has heard
horrifying.
it. It is all night, every night. Wake up with headache.
Wakes you up.
Honestly, if this isn't appropriate, you can
It's
say,
not inappropriate.
I'm scared I can't get blowjobs anymore because I don't think my mouth will open up.
There's plenty.
This is a real issue, Evan.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe
There's
it.
plenty of guys out there with tiny wieners.
I tried one. He ghosted me.
Yeah, but that was British. Listen.
Yeah.
It was in July. It's a bad month for them. Independence Day. It's a lot.
Oh, yeah. They are upset. I also do shopping because I used to do soda and then I stopped drinking that and now I do shopping.
Did I say soda?
I did.
She likes to add like to like no like instead of penis she'll say peener. It doesn't make any sense.
Or
I think
sodies.
it's a defense mechanism. Can you hypnotize her to stop doing that?
Well,
do
don't
you want to
change
stop
me.
that?
No,
That's
she
a quirky, fun character trait.
Yeah,
to
I'm
have.
hilarious.
but
and
here's
adorable.
She's adorable, some have said. She's an adorable, lovely woman. But listen, this is what I want for her. She loves to spend money as soon as it gets into her hand.
Literally as soon as it gets into my hand.
And I'd love for her to say
Have you ever seen Hello Dolly?
Yes.
She
Love Hello
says
Dolly.
like money's like manure, you gotta spread it around to get happiness. I think I took that too literally.
Yeah, because she shits while she does it.
Are you somebody that oftentimes takes care of others before you take care of yourself?
No.
You're so selfish. It's true. She takes care of number one. Y'all are fools.
Okay, one time I was taking a theater, you know about theater. I was taking a workshop and the woman that was running it, her name was, I forget it, but she's dead now.
How?
I think cancer. I don't know. That's,
Oh,
not,
that's
funny.
not funny.
But she looked at me and she said, you know what? I think your problem is you're not afraid of failure. You're afraid of success. And ever since then, it's stuck with me. And I think it might be true. I like things when it's like with her or with others. I mean, I love the attention, but I don't often choose to take center stage.
Do you feel like you're in over your head? She's got a lot.
No,
going on.
I'm more curious when this started.
I think when that movie Center Stage came out. I'm kidding. I don't
She doesn't
know.
like to be perceived, but she wants accolades.
Yeah.
And this is something that started when? How old were you?
Probably my whole life because, I just started my transition a year ago. And I feel like up until then, I learned very young not to be fully myself.
Can we bring that out in her?
Child in Texas.
Stop being herself. I'm getting too much of herself lately.
yeah. I'm very comfortable around her. I think, honestly, that's why we work so well is because we're very comfortable around each other. I think
You make me so uncomfortable.
that's part of the charm.
So what are you working on today? What do you hope to get out of this?
My teeth grinding. And then maybe the sugary drink. I
The
think
money.
that'll be funny.
The money.
She wants me to be better about money.
And I think your fear of success as well.
Okay.
Because that's probably stopping you from all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And also behind the bad habits that you're
Well,
identifying too.
it's what she said about being perceived. It gets down to every kind of level of my day. A lot of the times when I get flustered at work or at like a Starbucks, it's because I don't want to be taking too long. I don't want to be taking too long in the line. So I want you to go fast so I can get out of the way and get to the next person. Or like when I'm checking people out, I want to make sure I'm being as efficient as I can so they can get out of here. And then they get mad for some reason. And then I get mad because I'm not being perfect. You know what I mean?
It sounds like what you're describing is you're putting the needs of others before yourself. Even though you said that you put yourself first,
Yeah.
none of the behaviors that you just described is somebody who puts themselves first.
Okay. Well, I feel better. I think we can. That's good.
Maybe I'm too mean to you. Maybe I've broken you.
But that's kind of why I like her because
I break you. Don't put this on
she
me.
is down. You know what I mean?
I
A little
punch
bit.
down.
She punches down on me.
Yeah.
Well, look, sarcasm is important to have as, a sense of humor is important to have. It's also important to remember that the subconscious really has a hard time deciphering between what's real and what isn't. And on a neuronic level, whatever we think is the same as the actual thing. Being like harsh to somebody else, even if it's sarcastic, it needs to be followed up with, actually, wink, wink, I mean this. The reason is that when you're watching TV, for example, you laugh when something's funny, you cry when something's sad, you scream when something's scary, hypothetically speaking.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what you're watching isn't real. But you're reacting as though it is. It's still impacting you physically as though it were actually happening.
Okay.
But you know what you're watching is just a two-dimensional screen of light projecting images at your face. The reason for that is because our brains have a difficult time telling the difference between what's real and what isn't. We know when something is a movie and when something is reality. But on a neuronic level, it's the exact same thing. Which is why when you think of something delicious, you get hungry and start to salivate. If you think of somebody attractive, you get hungry and start to salivate.
That's right.
Okay, but like when I'm mean to her, right? We both laugh. Okay.
Yeah, because I know she
Is that
loves
enough?
me.
Or do I need to follow it all? Like after I say the mean thing and we both laugh, we love each other, we go ha 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 ha.
No.
Should I say, well, no, I want to make sure I'm not fucking you up. Should I follow it with like a, I'm just kidding, I love you. Like should that
She
be?
does though.
So,
Not all the
so
time.
So it's
Shut up,
all
idiot.
contextual. It's all contextual. I think the two of you both know that you love each other and respect each other on that level, so you don't need to give a joke context.
Right.
Because you're not taking it in literally.
I agree. I think I know
But if
that.
you're talking about somebody random and being sarcastic to them, and you're not on that deep level with them,
Right.
then an acknowledgement of reality is important
A
because
lot
our words are magic to other people. Everything that we say transforms somebody else's consciousness. You know the guy Alan Moore?
Jesus. Yes.
Yeah.
The graphic novelist
Yeah.
who rewrote V for Vendetta, Watchmen. He says that magic is often referred to as the art, and he takes that to be totally literal. He believes that art is magic, art being, writing, music, dance, theater, the manipulation of the body, words, images, which is literally magic, which is also the manipulation of the symbols, words, images, the body, in order to change somebody else's consciousness.
I love that.
Even the words around magic are kind of mystical. A grimoire, for example, is a book of spells.
Wicked.
Yeah.
That sounded like a slur.
That's a fancy way of saying grammar.
Oh.
Even to cast
She's
a
really
spell.
bad at grimoire.
Are you?
I'm from Texas.
But even to cast a spell is simply to spell out somebody's consciousness and change them with what you're saying. So that's why he says, and I agree with him, that magic is language. It's the art of using language to change somebody else's consciousness. That art is the closest thing to magic and shamanism that we have today. Which is why what you say to somebody else always makes an impact. Everything that we say constantly makes an impact on everybody else. And ultimately ourselves. Because the way that we talk to others is always a reflection of how we talk to ourselves. Which is why I think to put context on something that you're saying sarcastically to somebody else is not only important to help the other person understand this is actually how I feel and this is actually how I see you, but it's also important for yourself, because if you're always sarcastic with somebody else and that's how you communicate, you're also going to be talking like that to yourself. And if our thoughts impact us physically, then over time, if we keep saying, "Oh, I suck, I can't do this, I'm not enough," eventually that does add up, and there's a breaking point.
I do that.
Where you start to suck yourself off. I agree.
Let's talk about her issues. What are you working on today?
Well, I do believe what he just said
applies to you.
Well, I think it destroyed IMHO.
I think if you stop this, we're done. I think we're done.
Hey, this is an organic way to end it, though. You know.
Yeah.
No, I think we do a good job, and by we I mean me.
Of course we do.
Whenever we get a little sarcastic or mean or jokey about other people, we do always say, "I'm just kidding." Obviously, love her drag. Blah,
I think
blah,
we're.
blah.
I think we're getting better.
But yeah, I think we're better at that. Now, what I would like to work on, just in general, thank you so much for asking, is my anxiety rules my life. And my anxiety, it presents itself through anger, which is why I'm back on medication. It's not kicked in yet, but my kind of knee-jerk reaction to everything in the world is mad. I internalize all of that anger, and I just kind of walk around like this. You know that, Arthur with the clenched fist, that meme of Arthur?
That meme.
That's me right now, until the meds kick in.
She's a huge fister.
Just cartoons.
Can I ask you, are you on medications or
Not
do you
anymore,
just
no.
do...
I'm on PrEP, but that's it. That's the only medication I take.
Curtis, put your headphones in.
So to keep going off of what hypnosis is and what the experience will be for you both, all hypnosis is essentially what happens when you're watching a movie. Mm-hmm. You're reacting physically and emotionally to whatever it is that you're watching.
Or fast forwarding if it's too slow.
If it's too slow or if it's not good.
Mm-hmm.
But can you turn off the TV or turn off your phone at any time you don't feel comfortable with whatever it is you're watching?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the same thing happens with hypnosis. If I ask you to think of something and you don't like it, then you don't need to take it in.
Okay.
If I said that all elephants are pink, you'd be like, no, that's not true.
That sounds gay. Oh, that would be
saw
great.
on your
Can you make me
TikTok.
not gay?
No.
Oh, well.
Are you...
what are your
I'm
hobbies?
sorry if this is...
Do you have hobbies?
Are you
Yeah.
just cured now and everything's fine? Or do you still have work that you do on yourself?
Well, there's always work to be done.
Okay.
I'm in therapy.
We are too.
Yeah, and you trickle down therapy.
Yeah.
Our trauma never goes away, right? It's that movie Inside Out, where the sadness, they're trying to get rid of that sadness as a core memory.
They killed the
movie.
pink elephant in that movie.
Spoiler alert!
Full
Yeah, I
circle.
know.
Oh, sorry, it's only been out for 10 years.
Jesus,
Apologies.
I was gonna see that.
Yeah.
Oh, bummer. You missed out.
Don't get too attached to the pink elephant.
The whole point of that is just, in a nutshell, our sadness builds a well that eventually contains our joy. I think Rumi said that. You can't have joy without sadness. It's one of the main reasons why I think any kind of anti-anxiety medication or antidepressant medication is a temporary fix to a long-term challenge.
Yes.
I was on Wellbutrin for 1.5 years. It helped me get through the court process, helped me get through that final stage of going into the jail and testifying again when he's trying to get out on parole. It did help me. However, a dopamine or a serotonin inhibitor, which is what those medications are, only raise the baseline level of dopamine or serotonin in your brain. And how we experience joy is when the dopamine goes up and then it comes down and then it goes back up again and comes down and goes up and down. That's why people get addicted. Dopamine is a learning neurochemical. It teaches us what to keep getting more of because it feels good. It's how we educate ourselves.
Learning.
So if we're, say, a sex addict, which a lot of people are,
Been there.
it's pretty common, especially in the gay community, I'd say, but it's widespread. And it's because if you do something that makes you feel good, you're like,
Sorry, you said widespread. And
and
you're
I'm
talking
boom,
about Sorry,
I gave it
you
to you.
can
It was
fix
perfect.
that
I'm
in
gonna-
me.
No.
too.
There's nothing to fix with that.
Thank you.
There's nothing to fix with that.
He's being sarcastic. You
Okay.
Now
I
you
was
can
being
qualify
serious.
it with your
Okay,
actual
okay.
feelings.
Do
That got me.
do you regret coming here today?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No. In a nutshell, all that I'm about to do is just give you a structure for your imagination. I'm sculpting your imagination. And rather than it running amok and thinking of whatever it is that it's going to think about, which will impact you physically regardless, I'm essentially giving it scaffolding so that you can imagine this movie in your mind narrated by my voice, and that will impact you physically in a way that is by design.
You do have a great
Where
voice.
were you
it's
raised?
Very nice.
Connecticut.
Connecticut, you've said that.
Do you do voiceover?
I've done it sometimes.
That's cool.
Were you ever
like to...
in the play King Arthur's Court in Connecticut?
Have you seen that movie,
No,
Kid in Connecticut?
I loved that.
Have you seen Christmas in Connecticut?
Anything King Arthur I like. Christmas in Connecticut, is that a Hallmark movie? I don't know what that is.
No. Barbara Stanwyck. It's a classic.
Oh, no, I've never seen it.
Okay,
Have you
this
ever
woman,
seen
this
The
bitch
Meg?
lies, right? Which you could hypnotize her to stop doing, and says that she lives in Connecticut, and she writes a column, and she's like, oh my goodness, I love making home in Connecticut. Turns out she's not from Connecticut, she's from the city. But she goes to Connecticut and makes a fake family and stuff. Could you do that? All right, let's get started.
Okay. We're going to take a brief break. When we come back, I think the two of us will be hypnotized.
Take your hands out in front of you, and I want you to look at your hands. And I just want you to notice your hands. You probably haven't given your hands a good look in a long time. I want you to bring
Not true.
the lines on your wrist, the lines on your wrist together. There's two lines there. You see that? Line up the top line with the top line of your wrist, the bottom line of the bottom line of your other wrist. Bring your hands into a prayer-like position, like you're praying, like this. And I want you to notice that one of the fingers on one of the hands is probably going to be slightly longer than the fingers or a finger on the other hand. Yes or yes?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to bring the short-fingered hand outstretched in front of you. The long-fingered hand down by your side, you can just let that go. Give that hand a good look. Don't look anywhere else. Just look at that hand. And all I want you to do is simply imagine that your hand is growing longer. That your hand is growing larger. The bones are expanding, the muscles are expanding, every ligament, tendon, muscle, fiber, nerve, cell, molecule in that hand is getting bigger, wider, longer in every possible way. And as you allow more space between the joints, as you notice that as I continue talking, you're allowing more space between the joints, and as I continue talking, your hand's actually getting bigger and you're feeling it getting bigger. You notice that it's actually getting bigger without you doing anything at all. It's just simply you're imagining it getting bigger, and simply by imagining your hand getting bigger and longer, it is in fact getting bigger and longer. And at the count of 3, you're going to bring the lines on your wrist back together, bring your hands back into a prayer-like position, palm to palm, and you're going to see there's a difference between the fingers on your hands. 1, 2, 3. Bring your hands together, line up the lines on the wrist, and see if there's a difference as you bring your hands into a prayer-like position.
Oh my God. It's longer.
Now, did your hands actually grow longer?
No.
No. But your hands did stretch to the fullest capacity they could be stretched to simply by thinking that it was getting bigger.
Oh my God.
That's what I mean by thought impacting us physically. We basically just did the exact same thing that anxiety or an anxious thought does to your body in whatever way that manifests itself for both of you. And instead, focused it on a hand and made it get longer.
Oh my God.
So that's what we're going to be doing for the rest of the time. That's all that I'm doing with hypnosis, okay? It's not anything more than that. So now what I'd like you to do is bring your hands outstretched in front of you like you're zombies.
Wait, mine didn't really work. Is that okay?
That's okay. Totally fine.
Okay.
Totally fine. Hands outstretched in front of you. I want your right hand facing up if you're right-handed, left hand facing down, and hands about 6 or 7 inches apart. And if you don't know what 6 or 7 inches is...
Oh, we do.
Okay. Close your eyes. Here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to imagine that attached to your right hand is a group of light, bright helium balloons. If you don't know what those are, it's the balloons that go up. Every time I make this sound, keeping your eyes closed, that right hand gets lighter and lighter, going upwards towards the sky, like a balloon's being attached to that right hand, just bringing it upwards without you doing anything at all, just imagining another balloon adding onto that hand and bringing it upwards towards the sky. On your left hand now, I want you to imagine a pile of heavy books. Not just one book, but like 5, 6, 7 books, encyclopedias, heavy dictionaries, Bibles, weighing down that left hand. Every time I make that sound, keeping your eyes closed and breathing in nice and slow and deep, that right hand gets lighter and lighter with every balloon that you add on in your imagination, but that left hand just keeps on getting more and more tired and heavy because you're adding on another book every time I make that sound. Right hand going all the way up, 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 up into the air, floating effortlessly and easily. Lots of balloons getting added onto it. Now the higher it goes, the more easily it's able to lift up without you doing anything at all. And the left hand just super tired now. It's just gone. Hard to hold up at this point. You might need to rest it down on your lap or down by your side, all the way up on the right, all the way down on the left. Don't move. Open your eyes. Look at your arms. Look at your hands. You're both very somnambulant, which means you're both very easily able to be hypnotized.
That's fucking nuts. I felt it. Like I could not keep my arm up. That's wild.
In this country, we normalize the nocebo effect. The nocebo effect is the opposite of the placebo effect. The placebo effect is if you take this pill that does nothing, it will make you feel X, Y, and Z, even though It has nothing inside of it. The nocebo effect is, if you take this pill, you will feel terrible. You will be sick. We have normalized that. I am somebody who's anxious. I am somebody who exercises their anxiety through anger. A negative suggestion is fine, but a positive suggestion, something that will actually make you feel better. Like, oh, if I step on that crack rather than it giving me bad luck on the sidewalk, it makes me feel better. That's a different suggestion entirely. But we make everything negative, oftentimes. Not all the time, but oftentimes. So we're just reverse engineering that mechanism. That's all we're doing. Now we'll actually get into a more heavy trance. I'm going to put on some music here.
That was wild, man. That was wild. When you said that we float up into a cloud, I left my body. It all just felt... That was wild.
Yeah, how do you feel?
I think I cried, and I don't remember crying. That was so cool.
Yeah, I feel relaxed.
The anxious thoughts that you're experiencing right now in your head, the thoughts of it didn't work. Most people can't control their thoughts. Their thoughts come in and out of them, however our subconscious minds dictate.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm bringing it up is everything that I asked you to imagine, you can't control whether or not you imagined it, and every thought on a neuronic level to your brain is the same as if it actually were happening. It's still impacting you physically. As long as you imagined what I was asking you to imagine, which you were, then all the things that I asked you to imagine impacted you physically with or without your say-so. So while you might not experience an immediate effect afterwards, you were experiencing it in that moment. The more you do that imagination work on your own and sculpting your imagination in your own mind on your own time, the more that will transform into your reality.
When it started, I had the anxious thoughts of like, what if I'm doing it wrong? Like, what if I fuck it up somehow, kind of thing. And I noticed like my eyes were moving a lot, even though my eyes were closed. But then for some reason, when we got to that goddamn cloud, my eyes stopped moving so rapidly, and I was just kind of like, I don't know, man.
You both, you rolled your eyes back into your head multiple times to the point where you were like, the whites were out. You were like this. And you were smiling quite a bit. At certain anytime the color or the light went through your body, you just...
I felt it. I wasn't unaware at all. Like, I think what I had in my mind going into this was I would be in no control. When I woke up, I wouldn't remember anything. It would just be like this subconscious thing that happened. But I was aware. I was aware when the dog got off the couch. I was, but every time I felt that awareness, all I had to do was go back to your voice. And then, but I was aware of everything. Like, I think that's the common misconception that I had, was that I wouldn't be aware.
Right.
Is that a thing?
Well, hypnosis is a conscious, waking state of mind. It is not unconscious. We're dealing with the subconscious, not being unconscious. When you're watching TV, you are fully aware that you're watching TV until you get into a trance, then you sort of get immersed into the story, but you can always come out of it. If something loud happens, like, oh yeah, I'm in my living room. It works the exact same way with hypnosis, except when I said the suggestion, every sound you hear, every word I say, every breath you take only serves to make you feel better, more connected with yourself, more confident, more relaxed. Because if I didn't say that, then your subconscious could have been like, oh, the dog moved, I'm not relaxed anymore. Oh, my phone buzzed, I'm not relaxed anymore. But because of that suggestion, you were able to go, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I think that is my biggest takeaway, and I hope if you're watching this, like, yeah, you're fully conscious. Like, I was fully aware, but I felt it.
So, you know how you listen to music and you can eventually, after you hear a song enough times, you can hear it in your head, every single part of the song, every single nuance of the song, without even playing it.
Yeah.
So how you like that, da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah, stop.
Sorry, I thought that was a suggestion.
That mechanism of how you memorize songs is the same way that your inner monologue works, right? When we were kids, people made fun of us. It's very common to get bullied, right? But when somebody bullies you, what we learned very quickly is, oh, if I get ahead of the bully...
Shoot them. Oh.
That's a different conversation. Yeah. That's a different problem that we got.
Oh, God. Let me back under.
If I say, oh, I suck. I hate myself. I'm such a loser. Before they do, then I own it. I have control over it. Right. Problem is that, like I said before, if we keep on saying those things to ourselves and about ourselves, we eventually don't know the difference between whether they're real or not. They'll impact us physically. And
So
that
what
could become part of our inner monologue that we have every single day. So what all I'm asking you to do is when you listen to this on your own time, it's like a song that you're listening to and memorizing in the exact same way that like, oh yeah, I can effortlessly just think these thoughts that Evan's saying without needing to muscle it. It's just there. Just like you would be walking and you just think of what somebody said to you that felt really good or something that somebody said to you that was really bad. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you recommend, like, after your first hypnosis, what do you recommend?
What do you have
what's
as far as
maintenance?
aftercare?
Yeah. Like, what do you suggest? Is it something that you do once a week, or is this like an everyday thing?
It really depends on the person. So there was a client I worked with who was a victim of rape and wanted to get pregnant. And she said that anytime somebody touched her chest, she would experience an anxiety attack. And unfortunately, in many positions that she wanted to be in, somehow her chest would be touched. So I worked with her one time, just like I did with you both. She listened to it every day for a month. 6 months later, she was pregnant.
You got her pregnant with your voice?
Yeah, that was immaculate conception.
Maybe you aren't gay anymore. Maybe you'd have hypnotized that out of you.
So the aftercare is listen to it as much as you can, or as much as you're able to. I'd recommend doing it at night, unless you have the end in there when I'm bringing you up, in which case you can listen to it in the morning or during the day, as long as the like awaken part is there. But otherwise we can cut out the end. You can listen to it at night and just go right to sleep. It just will fade out and you can pass out.
Oh, that's good.
And that way you can immediately start processing it while you're dreaming, which is when we learn a lot of things, right? During our dreams.
Can individuals, I'm using the royal we, I'm a monarchist. Can people pay you to record like a cleaner version?
Yes.
I might be doing that.
I might do that too.
I feel so silly. Like, I can't believe I just really did not know what hypnosis was. It felt very participatory. It was a very active choice to do.
We always have the freedom to react to any given situation, any stimulus, whether it's in reality or in our minds, which is a different kind of reality, like I sort of articulated before. That's one of the last freedoms that we have. Viktor Frankl said that. He was in 4 concentration camps, lived to tell the tale. He talks about in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, that the last freedom of man and woman is...
And person. Gotcha.
Is our freedom to react to any given situation.
How many quotes do you have available in your mind?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. Oh boy.
Wild. It's like having a once-a-day quote calendar on my couch. Thank you so much for doing this, for taking your time.
Thanks for being brave and doing this.
Oh my God.
Of course. Hypnosis is such a scary thing in the world, and I hope more people can understand what it actually is and be encouraged to learn about it.
I think they will be. Where can we find you online, or do you like that?
Yeah, no, I like that. You can find me on the social medias at Evan Gambardella. So that's Gambardella. So follow me if you want, but also get off that shit.
Yeah.
Be intentional about what you consume, and remember that what you're consuming is hypnotizing you, whether or not you want it to. And don't let that algorithm send you things that you don't want to watch and that make you feel like a lesser version of yourself.
All right, well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you both.
Truly,
Yay.
wow. Y'all, Google it. Book yourself an appointment today.
HypnotistEvan.com.
There we go.
Oh.
Is that true?
Yeah, that's my website.
Oh, yes. Please go to that. And then let us know when you're fixed. And then
there's nothing to
maybe
fix.
we can be friends. Nope. Everyone's broken. We're all broken deep down. 2 broken girls. That should be a show.
You're far from broken.
Oh, thank you.